Round 3 of the 2022 Formula One season comes to the Hungarian Grand Prix for what is expected to be another tight-fought affair in this already close championship. Following a controversial British Grand Prix, however, the FIA are hoping for a bit of calm at Hungary, with Esteban Ocon having been given a formal warning that if he is caught up in another serious incident, he will be given a race ban. BMW once again come to a new race weekend thinking what could have been, but Perez says he thinks his team will be on the back foot this race due to the higher temperatures of Hungary. On the opposite side of the spectrum, however, Red Bull are looking forward to being back on pace with the Austrian Drinks outfit liking the warmer conditions due to the difficulties they've had this season with getting the tires into the working range. All eyes, however, were on the Monster Mercedes team on Friday. The team arrive at Hungary with a major upgrade to every aspect of their car and hope it can kickstart their season. Toto Wolff also revealed more upgrades would be coming for rounds 6 and 9 as they look to deploy a long-term strategy of updates across the season. And finally, Ferrari hope to be strong around what has always been a good place for them historically, but in contrast to his home Grand Prix, aarava appeared to be once again struggling to wrangle his prancing horse. The Brit said, "The car is still quite new to me, and I think compared to my teammate, I'm certainly struggling to adapt to it on the Friday before quali." But with 2 rounds gone in this season and 2 action-packed, chaotic races, the triple world champion can maybe hope for more chaos to help him out on Sunday for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Let's take a look now at the starting grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's an all-French front row with Esteban Ocon putting his Renault on pole position for the second race in a row, just 16 thousandths quicker than his compatriot Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull Chevrolet car. Jack Aitken will once again line up directly behind his teammate from the third spot on the grid, but this time he's joined by the Ferrari of LECLERC, both drivers within 2/10 of the pole time. Row 3 sees the other Red Bull of Giovinazzi pipping the lead BMW of Sergio Perez for the final spot in the top 5, less than 400ths between the two of them though. The other BMW of Valtteri Bottas lines up in 7th just behind his teammate and ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who used his team's upgrades to good effect, just over 4/10 off the pole time at the end of Q3. The historically slippery Audi did manage to get into Q3 with Sainz behind the wheel, but he was a 10th.5 quicker than aarava when the checkered flag fell, the Brit still struggling to come to grips quite literally with this new era of cars. Once again, the Jag-powered machines were just shy of the top 10, but this time it's Van Dorn who gets the better of both McLarens, with Ricciardo joining him on row 6 and his teammate Lando Norris just behind in 13th position. All 3 drivers within half a tenth, but then over a tenth of a second down to Verstappen, who once again starts way behind his teammate. Mick Schumacher barely got into Q2 and will start 7 positions behind his senior teammate. He's joined by Nico Hülkenberg for an all-German 8th row of the grid. Row 9 sees the other Haas of Pascal Wehrlein a shocking 3.5 tenths slower than his teammate, but only 1 position lower. He's joined by the other Jag of Nico Kari, who is also 7 places behind his teammate. And finally, bringing up the rear once again, it's the Alfa Romeos with Ilott starting ahead of Fuoco for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Hey, what's going on, it's aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver career mode, episode number 3 today for Season 8 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. If you did miss episode number 2 or even 1, be sure to check them out, both of them in an official playlist, and there'll be an annotation in the top right to episode number 2 at the British Grand Prix. Really chaotic first 2 rounds. In last race, well, I thought the first round was chaotic, the second one really topped it. Absolute madness of result there, so I really do recommend you go see that, and it means going into this round, I really don't know what to call of it, because you think it's going one way and then it could go the complete other way. It really has been utter chaos, and I don't know, I think maybe you think I'd be used to it with MyDriver, but it just keeps on surprising me how many different ways this AI grid can go and how many different ways these drivers want to play the race, and I'm looking forward to what Hungary holds. Obviously, here's the driver standings going into this one. Very mixed up table. Nico Hülkenberg leading the way after that really shock surprise result of the British Grand Prix. I think we're going to have to wait a couple of rounds really to see what the actual pattern of the championship is and the drivers and the constructors there. But I think what you can agree on is consistency once again is going to be key around here. I mean, Jack Aitken, I pointed out last episode, consistent as ever, beating his team, his more senior team, Esteban Ocon, quite thoroughly in the championship at the moment there. And the constructors, you've got teams like Jaguar and McLaren having to fight back after Haas's shock result. But it looks like Red Bull are looking very, very strong, and the likes of Renault and BMW have gotten quite unlucky. So I just don't know how to call it, honestly. I'm just looking forward to this Hungarian Grand Prix. Obviously, it wasn't actually a very good time for me in Season 7 in MyDriver for the Hungarian Grand Prix, so hoping to make amends and having a good one here around the Hungaroring. So the tail end of the grid then is just getting into their grid slots, and we're going to get ready then for 5 red lights. So the Hungarian Grand Prix, round 3 of the 2022 season here. Here we go then to 5 red lights, and we're underway. It's a good start there actually compared to Carlos Sainz initially on the traction point, but then his Audi power is going to kick in. Sebastian Vettel with that upgraded Mercedes doing well down the inside, 4 wide into turn 1. There's also side by side for the lead of the Grand Prix is Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon. We've gone down the inside of Carlos Sainz and another car of Giovinazzi, I think that was, and now trying to find a way around the outside of Sergio Perez for what would be P6. Vettel with a stonking start up into P5 there from what was just ahead of me on the grid. Meanwhile, up ahead, still very close between that Red Bull of Gasly and the 2 Renaults and my teammate Charles Leclerc, who's done very well in qualifying. Ocon with a fast lap of the Grand Prix as we move on to lap 2 then, and we're right on the back of our long-time rival Sebastian Vettel. Tried to make something work into turn 1, but he pinches us into the apex, so thought better of it, otherwise I might have lopped off my front wing. So we're going to be a bit patient and just wait for the right opportunity. In theory, even with the upgrades, the Ferrari should be better than that Mercedes car still, and you can see that's pretty apparent mid-apex, carrying a lot more speed than Vettel. So here we go now in the famous place we crashed in 2018, up the hill, the blind left-hander on the outside there, riding the curb like a skateboard, and we get it up into 5th place ahead of Vettel. Although he's got some good traction, he's still there in the mirrors. We're going to go to the inside to defend this position quite hardly, and Vettel tries to make a move on the outside, doesn't make it work, and actually now he's compromised his own racing line, and now he's actually side by side with Sergio Perez, the Mexican. Obviously had a really tough time at the British Grand Prix last episode, was in the lead until he got taken out, and he's not having a great time here. BMW unfortunately struggling with some overheating on their tyres this afternoon, so they're going to be a little bit irked and annoyed that they've gone from race leaders to in the middle of the pack in the top 10 at the moment. You can see there Carlos Sainz nips past Sebastian Vettel as well, so the Spaniard doing well, and clearly Vettel struggling now. So even though those Mercedes upgrades came in well, you can see it's not enough to maybe still stay ahead of these guys, and now he's got Antonio Giovinazzi for company right behind him. Gio tries a little bit of a pop and a look on the inside, but nothing comes of it. But we look at a replay then of turn 1. You can see what I meant by side by side. There goes Gasly trying to take the lead off Esteban Ocon. Obviously both started in the front row, and the Frenchman tries to go around the outside of his fellow compatriot and almost makes it work actually, but just about by a hair width Ocon is able to stay ahead. And then meanwhile backwards, look back and behind after turn 1, Giovinazzi tries to go around the outside of Carlos Sainz, but I think Carlos Sainz is going to be the one that comes out the better. Yes, it looks like it as we make that move obviously on Vettel. I think Gio tried the same kind of opportunistic move on the outside there, but didn't make it quite work, unlike myself. And so now we move back to the live racing action, and we're here on board with Carlos Sainz there, really closing in quite fast on the Mexican Sergio Perez there, and a bit of a lock up there from the BMW driver. And now will Sainz have the traction, use that Audi power off that traction zone? Yes, he will, and he is past Sergio Perez, and he's up into what will be, not quite a lock up though. He would be up into what would be around P5, but now he's locked up and let Perez back through. So that's a good scrappy fight between Sainz and Perez, but surely you would think eventually Carlos Sainz will have too much for Perez to handle, because that BMW at the moment, I mean, you can just see Valtteri Bottas in the background is also struggling to keep it in the top 10 behind that Mercedes of Sebastian Vettel. So I think the BMs aren't really performing too well this weekend. And so now, second time around, Sainz does get back ahead of Perez in the same exact place he made the first pass, but this time around he doesn't lock up. But now taking a look at the top 5 pack there, Esteban Ocon still leads the way in his Renault and trying to make up and amends for what happened at the British Grand Prix, followed by Pierre Gasly, Jack Aitken in 3rd place, Leclerc P4, and then there we are in P5, and we are closing down our teammate here, really wringing the neck out of the Ferrari. You can see a little twitch there on the car mid sector 2 as we try and push the car to the limit, still trying to get used to the car, to be honest. But now we're going to try to pop down the inside, very opportunistic pass there. Maybe it's going to be a bit too ambitious, I think, locking up on the front right tire. And Leclerc, obviously my teammate and my new teammate, I don't want to really push the limits quite yet, and so we give him the room on the exit, and he's going to ultimately keep that. And I'm definitely finding some traction issues here around Hungary. The V10s, obviously very powerful engines in the back of these cars these days in 2022, and definitely a little bit taking used to. It's taken me. Now we move on board with Pierre Gasly. Now he's coming very, very quickly, and he's going to try and make a move on the outside for the lead of the Grand Prix. Once again, the two Frenchmen go side by side for the lead of the Grand Prix, and Gasly is through. It's a great move on the outside of turn 1, and you got to say, either way, it's a great time to be a Frenchman in Formula 1. They won the World Cup in real life in 2018, and here in MyDriver 2022, it's two Frenchmen that lead the way at many Grand Prix so far. And meanwhile, for P4, we're still pressurising Leclerc, but he's doing a great job, to be fair to him, to defend from me in this initial stage of the Grand Prix. Now another move from Red Bull, this time Antonio Giovinazzi down the inside. It's a very aggressive move to the inside there on Perez, and Perez does defend successfully for now, but it looks like Gio really wants it. Obviously, I think he pretty much made the move of the race last time out of the British Grand Prix. There he goes now. Perez with a lockup, really bad lockup in the same place Sainz did, and Giovinazzi is through and done. And that looks like to be a tricky corner for all the drivers this weekend there. Obviously, the extra power from the V10, maybe they just carried too much extra speed for them to handle almost in a way, or maybe it just really is the BMW struggling because Perez and Bottas aren't really doing too well, and there's another lockup from Perez. Okay, I'm convinced. I think there must be an issue for Sergio Perez in that BMW. He was leading the British Grand Prix for so many laps, and now he's fallen behind his teammate. He's going side by side with Bottas, and Bottas might just have this on the outside. It's a great battle, to be fair to them, between the two BMW works cars, and Bottas is through, and Perez going to tuck in behind, and another lockup. He keeps ahead of the Jaguar for now, but you've got to say 100% there's some sort of issue there for the Mexican. He now goes behind the Jaguar. I mean, yeah, it's just gone from bad to worse. He was in P5 at the very start of this Grand Prix, and he's now down into, I think, what that is at the tail end of the top 10. And meanwhile, speaking about struggles, Max Verstappen once again struggling in that Audi, has Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris right up his chuff, and actually indeed he's a bottleneck for that entire midfield train behind him. And there were suggestions at the British Grand Prix that are Audi favouring Carlos Sainz in some sort of way with the car setup, because Verstappen just is struggling so much more than Carlos Sainz is. I mean, Sainz really isn't even struggling, he's just doing a great job in the Audi. And meanwhile, Perez with another lockup, and he's now off in the gravel and parked that in a really awkward position by the chicane there, and that's actually triggered the full safety car. Due to that, the FI feel like it's too dangerous for Perez to be parked up there, and so the safety car has been called out in a very important place, because now I'm going to come into the pit lane. Looks like Leclerc has opted to stay out there. I don't know if that's the team making that call or he wants to stay out, he feels he's good, but I'm going to come in and try and get a free pit stop there. And it looks like ahead of me, looks like the Renault and Red Bull teams are thinking the same thing, so quite good timing there, because the pit stop was coming up pretty much. And so I'm going to strap on a set of soft tyres here and switch this round. I initially was going to go super soft, soft. I'm now going to swap that round, and so we end up on the faster tyre at the end of the Grand Prix. And it looks like we've just about jumped Pierre Gasly, actually, somehow. I don't know how that's quite worked. Gasly was leading the Grand Prix, remember, so we've jumped the race leader. Does that mean we've jumped everyone? I think there's a Renault in the background there, so I can't quite work that out. I think we might have jumped 2 cars at least. I'm not sure about all 3. If we did, that's a marvellous pit stop there by the Ferrari crew. But we come ahead of Callum Elott, obviously in the Alfa Romeo, and he's a bit of a buffer between me and Gasly then, so that's good. We're looking at a replay now. Gasly coming in first place, 2 Renaults behind him, Ocon and Aitken, and they all come in, and oh, it's the double stack, and that is a little bit controversial and fishy once again at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Aitken effectively blocks off Gasly and doesn't allow Gasly to leave his pit blocks. Gasly had made the pit stop. He could have easily just stayed ahead of Ocon, but due to the double stack of the Renaults, I don't know if on purpose or what, but that has meant that Aitken effectively blocked Gasly and held him up. And so Ocon now, in the scheme of things, is going to be in a net race lead, you would say. Obviously, we don't know what Leclerc's going to do. He's still leading the way under the safety car. Here's the running order on track. It's Leclerc. Then you've got Stoffel Van Dorn and the Jaguar going long on medium tyres from the start. Then you've got Max Verstappen, ironically, in 3rd place now on mediums as well. Then you've got Ocon now in an effective race lead on new super softs. We've got the 2 McLarens on medium tyres. Obviously, a lot of medium tyre runners who are out of sync with everyone else, and you would say that they're going to be quite slow, and that might be a little bit of annoying traffic for everyone to overtake, as you've got the 2 Mercs, the 2 Haas cars, and then that's where we fold in, right behind Pascal Wehrlein there. Then it's the Alfa Romeo of Callum Ilott, and then Pierre Gasly behind, and then the further 2 places back is Jack Aitken after that kind of slow double stack pit stop. But I don't know, that seemed a bit too well timed for me from the 2 Renaults to block off and just, you know, cheekily get Ocon in the lead. I don't know. I don't want to throw fingers at anyone, but that was just, it was a bit too perfect. But anyway, we're going to get onto the green flag then from P11, and can we try and make some quick passes? I talked about traffic. After a lot of cars on medium tires going to be out to sync in this Grand Prix, so we need to make sure we get these passes done, and we are going to do so down the inside of both Haas Chevrolet cars. Great turn one from me. Big dive bomb, and that's going to open us up to get right on the back of Nico Kari, then the young Finn in the Jaguar car on lap 10, so about a third of the race nearly gone, and making good progress. P9 after the safety car, I'll take that, and we are really pressurising Kari now. Look at it, he doesn't have the downfalls in the corners. Here we go now to the move to the inside, maybe Kari defending on the outside, and we're going to go either side of Mick Schumacher and make it 3 wide momentarily. I did not expect Kari to try and pass Schumacher whilst he defended me, and so that created a very cinematic little 3 wide moment there between us three, but we're ahead, and he just ultimately doesn't have the pace on the medium tyres. Obviously, you would expect that and hope of that. With me with fresh softs, and now can we get past Schumacher? Will he have the speed to keep it ahead? I think so. For now, into turn one, we're going to take this a little bit patient because we've got some moves up ahead. That's Verstappen going slowly in turn one. I think you could just about see in the bottom of the screen as it went away, and I think Ocon has just made a move around the outside of Verstappen then, and we're now going to go around the outside. Speaking of that, of not only one but 2 cars. Lando Norris ultimately taken for chips, and we're up into P6 now, so we are really stamping our authority here on the Hungarian Grand Prix. I feel like we can get a very good podium, if not even challenge for the race win, maybe, if we have good enough pace against Esteban Ocon, perhaps. We've still got some traffic to filter through, and then a lot of us have another stop to go here, but we're closing on to Ricciardo very quickly into the chicane, and he's really blocked us off there, and I've had to take avoiding action, and now we're back down 2 positions. We're side by side with Schumacher once again. Can we hold it on the outside? So I don't know quite what went on there. It looked like Verstappen, I think, ahead of Ricciardo, locked up quite badly, and essentially that was a domino effect, and I just didn't see it up ahead, and I closed on Ricciardo way too quickly for my liking there. You can see clearly, yeah, Verstappen is holding up the 2 McLarens once again, and I just had to take avoiding action. Thankfully, I didn't break off my front wing. I'd rather, you know, go off like that a little bit and have to fight back rather than losing a bit of my front wing. And now Gasly, speaking about making moves on traffic, is trying to get past. That's Nico Hulgren. No, that's Pascal Wehrlein, my bad. Down the inside, the Frenchman goes. Obviously, he's lost out big time. He will be very pissed off, I imagine, in the cockpit of that car. You know, to get held up by the Renault guys, intentionally or unintentionally, either way, he's going to be pretty damn mad, because he was in the race lead, he was in control of the Grand Prix so far, and now he finds himself way down the order, right in the middle, slap bang of traffic. And speaking about going from bad to worse, the BMWs are now running last and second last after that pit stop under the safety car. So certainly testing times then for the new manufacturer in Formula 1 this year. But now we move on to lap 13. DRS wide open, closing up on Lando Norris for the second time now this afternoon. Big dive down the inside. Ricciardo with a major lockup, and Verstappen with a lockup. It's almost like they had that in sync there. And so Ricciardo got held up with Verstappen enough into turn one that we're going to try and make the move. But to be fair to him, he's getting the elbows out. He's made a dive himself to the inside, the next left-hander, and he's going to make a fight for it. He's on the outside there, and he does hold it. So a great scrap there with Ricciardo, but surely we'll have this on the outside. Bit of contact made into the apex, but we're around the outside, and we have made that move done. And now can we get Verstappen down the inside? We'll go, and we'll just have a no-nonsense pass there on Verstappen. He's already held up far too many cars for my liking this afternoon, and I was not going to be one of them. And it's good timing as well, because now I've got clean air to try and chase after this man, Charles Leclerc. He's made his 1 pit stop in this Grand Prix so far, and it's for a set of medium tyres. So that would allude that Charles is going to try and go to the end of the Grand Prix on a 1 stop here on mediums. And thankfully, though, for me, I do get past Charles Leclerc, whilst we see Daniel Ricciardo trying to once again overtake Verstappen on the outside of turn 1, and Leclerc comes out in all that traffic, so that's not going to be great for my teammate then. And Ricciardo, he's going to be on the inside. Surely he'll be able to squeeze out Verstappen now and get that, and I think he will. And also, I think Lando Norris, oh, look at that, Norris on the outside, great move for him. And so both McLarens are past the Audi of Verstappen. So, you know, I mentioned before, you know, that question mark of him versus Carlos Sainz in the same bit of machinery. Clearly, I don't know what's going on, but Verstappen's very much struggling this season compared to his Spaniard teammate. And meanwhile now, for the lead of the Grand Prix, Esteban Ocon with a beautiful little pass on the outside there of Stoffel Van Dorn. Yes, it might be a Jaguar car on medium tyres, but he's not under blue flag, so Ocon had to make that move legitimately, and so that's a pretty damn nice move for the lead of the Grand Prix. And so now the Frenchman can waltz away in clean air and try and get away from, well, the likes of me and my teammate Leclerc. But he has 1 more pit stop to make, remember, as do I. But Leclerc with no other pit stop to make in this race. I don't know, let's see how his one stop goes. But meanwhile now, we go back to another bit of action there, and we had the overtaking show for Carlos Sainz last episode. This is pretty much the opposite of that. Verstappen just getting past left, right and centre, and that new pass was by the young German Mick Schumacher on the outside of turn 1. And so now we're going to look at another pass. It's now going to be Charles Leclerc around the outside maybe of the Dutchman. Here he goes, and it's going to be close. Bit of contact there, even more contact. Verstappen really tries to squeeze Leclerc out wide, and Leclerc's going to keep his foot in there to the inside, and yes, he'll just get the racing line, and now he's going to have a lot of clean air to try and close up to the pack. I say pack, but a couple laps later now, it's kind of dispersed almost, because on lap 20, Ocon has come in for his final pit stop, and we are now leading the Grand Prix. Ocon comes out, looks like on the top left in second place. So Ocon is still ahead of Leclerc despite making an extra pit stop. So you can see that free pit stop on the safety car really has worked out for him. And so I'm still kind of confused and really annoyed that Leclerc didn't come in under the safety car. I still had 2 extra laps to come in, but you know, that's just how it kind of sometimes goes. So we're going to be finally in for our last pit stop. So about 13 laps to go. And we're going to go into the super softs. They should be fine to the end of the race. Now is the question of where do we actually feed out compared to Leclerc? Because Leclerc got held up a little bit by the likes of Verstappen, but not that much. So I think he might just be ahead of us still. I think he has actually gone past us already. As we come down the pit lane then, I think we're in pretty clean air. Yeah, a lot of clean air actually. So we should have some good pace here. But yeah, Leclerc is past. He's in P2 now, but is a Ferrari 2 and 3. So that is absolutely excellent. So now, for the rest of the race, for me, it's just a case of trying to chase after this man Leclerc and trying to see if we can maybe make this P3 a P2. But it's Ocon that leads the way from us 2 Ferraris in P2 and P3. You can see really ringing the neck of the car once again to push hard. Then P4 is a fantastic drive from Dan Ricciardo on a brand spanking new set of super soft tyres. He came in on the same lap as me, so he's legitimately there in P4. So the Aussie's doing a great job to drag that McLaren up. Then it's this train of the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg ahead of Carlos Sainz. Then you've got the Jaguar car, I think that is, or no, the Monster Mercedes car of Sebastian Vettel, I should say, ahead of Lando Norris, and then Mick Schumacher. After that entire train, there's a bit of a gap, and then you've got the 2 Red Bulls in the world of their own. Giovinazzi, the Italian, is the one ahead of his more kind of senior, I guess, experienced teammate Pierre Gasly there. So that's surprising in itself, of Giovinazzi ahead of Gasly then, doing a great job. But eventually, Hülkenberg, Sainz, and it's going to be Sebastian Vettel are in for their final pit stop. On the right, you can see Norris and Schumacher going ahead. They'll be coming in as well within the next lap or 2 for their final pit stop. So that's going to ultimately actually give Red Bull, Giovinazzi, and Gasly the kind of last middle points in the top 10 as Gasly makes a bit of contact there with Giovinazzi. I think a bit of a carbon fibre broke off there. So Gasly definitely has been a little bit impatient in the last 2 rounds. Had a bit of contact, I think, with a Jaguar car, wasn't it, at the British Grand Prix into Luffield. And he's made more contact with his teammate this time. But Gio, that will put him up into P5 and Gasly in P6 then, with, of course, Ricciardo P4 and upwards, you know, the top 3. So that's how it's going to shape up then, and going to wind down for the rest of the top 10. But it certainly is not going to wind down for this fight between P2, Leclerc, and P3, myself, as we are right up the back of Leclerc now. And you can clearly see I have the better pace with the super soft tyres. The medium tyres. It's just a case of trying to make the pass. Obviously, Hungary is Monaco without the barriers, they say. So it's going to be a tough pass, and Leclerc clearly now is playing the end game and trying to defend as hard as he can to keep the P2 that he's rightly got into with a good strategy. But through the next right hand, clearly carrying a bit more mid-apex speed here. Now Leclerc moves to the middle of the circuit. We're going to dart from the right to the left to try and go around the outside if we can. Leclerc slow into the apex. He's got damage, actually. I can just see on his front wing there on the left. And so we do go down the inside of the second last corner. A bit of contact made there with Leclerc, trying to squeeze him off. But of course, he's my teammate, so I can't squeeze him completely out there. And he's on the inside. We take a wide line to try and cut back in and tighten up the car and the racing line on the exit. He's got the pace though, and he's got the move at the moment, and he's going to keep P2 for now. But can we now send it to the inside? Big dive to the inside there, but we've gone a bit too deep. Big lock up, and now more contact with Leclerc. We're off circuit momentarily, and now it's getting a little bit tetchy. Of course, I've been familiar with battling Leclerc on track. We had plenty of fights last season, Ferrari v Jaguar or Ferrari v Haas, but now it means a lot more because we're both fighting in the red cars. But come on, surely we have the pace now. Pretty much no to tell here, but I've had enough. So into the right-hander, up the hill, we're going to sling this on the outside. It's going to be a wonderful move there. Inches of space between us. We go to the inside then to defend the chicane. We send it out wide on purpose to the second apex, and we are going to squeeze them out. And that has been a very hard fought but respectful, I feel, all round second place fight there. And so GG's to Charles Leclerc. He's still in P3 though, and he's still got a job to do because Ricciardo is on super softs behind him. So now it's a question of if Leclerc can keep up the pace on the worn medium to round out the double Ferrari podium. Meanwhile, for the last points paying positions, we've got this train of Nico Kari, Jack Aitken, Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hülkenberg, and then trailing in P10 there is Carlos Sainz in the Audis, coming back after his last pit stop, of course, and he'll be licking his lips, probably fancying all these guys maybe to get up into P6 maximum. And so here he goes, maybe making a big old move on the outside of Hülkenberg then, and a big lunge, obviously using the Audi power to good effect, and actually a bit of contact as well, squeezing the German out. The last episode's race winner is down to P10, and Sainz up into P9 now, and he's going to try and maybe make a move on Bottas then next. Meanwhile, we look at a little live feed of Ricciardo v Leclerc, and Leclerc you can see clearly going very defensive on the inside there, but so far so good, doing a great job to keep ahead of Ricciardo on a much faster set of tyres there, so good job there from him. Meanwhile, Sainz now down the inside of Bottas, big lock up there from Carlos Sainz, and Sainz is now up into what will be P8, I believe, and now can he get P7 here? Jack Aitken right behind Nico Kari. He's unable. I'm being surprised the Renault hasn't been able to get Kari, but here he goes now in the same place now. That seems to be Carlos Sainz's favourite place to make the move, on the outside of the turn, turning to the inside of the next hairpin on the second last corner, and he slipped it down the inside, and it's another wonderful pass from the Spaniard in the Audi. So this season so far, although Carlos Sainz maybe he's not happy with where he's been in positions wise, you got to say he's been making some of the greatest passes and a lot of passes in this season so far. But round the final bend though, all the glory today will go with this man, Esteban Ocon. He rounds the corner and he's won the Hungarian Grand Prix in quite a dominant fashion actually in the end there, as we come home in second place, some 20 seconds back from Ocon, and in P3 meanwhile is still my teammate Leclerc. Ricciardo has a little go on the outside, has a little look, but Leclerc does a fabulous job. I don't know how he's done it on really warm medium tyres. He stays ahead of the McLaren Jaguar of Daniel Ricciardo to round out the double podium for Ferrari here. But like I said, all the glory will go to the Frenchman Esteban Ocon. Obviously a controversial race for him last time out at the British Grand Prix. He's redeemed himself. He's won the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's the first win of his career and the first win for the Renault Sport GP team as well in the MyDriver universe. And ultimately a great drive for us as a team in Ferrari, with me and Leclerc running at the podium, and a good recovery drive from both Red Bull cars after being stuck in traffic pretty much the entire race. Obviously Hungary was always going to be tough, as will Monaco later on this season with traffic management, but obviously especially for Gasly, after being in the lead and dropping down, you would think maybe your head goes a little bit, so he kept the motivation up and still came through for at least P5, which is better than nothing. But away from that, ultimately, even with the upgrades and definitely the performance boost in quali at least, and at the start of that race, Sebastian Vettel and Mercedes come away with no points once again at the Hungarian Grand Prix. The pressure's going to be on for them, Mercedes. They have more upgrades to come, but I don't know if this one was enough. We'll have to see how it goes in round 4, because a little luck played into it today, maybe with Vettel and Schumacher with the safety car as well, but it wasn't good enough today for Mercedes, and they're going to have some questions asked of them, and they're going to have to answer pretty damn swiftly. And also, as we mentioned earlier, BMW, big upset here. Going from what was race leaders last race to absolutely nowhere this Grand Prix. You know, they're definitely having a trial by fire in Formula 1 in their first season as a works team. Let's just hope for their sake, because it is a bit of a good feel story. Let's hope for their sake they can pull through in the next couple of rounds and really show off and convert that quali pace that clearly is there into some race pace. We'll have to see. But yeah, guys, if you have enjoyed that round 3 of the Hungarian Grand Prix, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoyed yesterday, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.